NVIDIA gave a rare apology and gave away a 5090 for free, and now everybody wants to know why. It's getting wild out there this week. We've got graphics card surgery, an active GPU goodwill from NVIDIA, and a major competitive exploit found in the new shooter Arc Raiders. Plus, we've got a bizarre World Solitaire Championship, a rare GTX 1650 Super prototype, and a huge quality of life update for Windows handhelds. You know the drill. Let's get into it. It looks like gamers are getting more competitive by the day. Apparently a solitaire tournament is in the works, and oh man, is it going to be boring. Imagine this, you got a bunch of guys around a poker table playing solitaire by themselves to see who gets the highest score. Doesn't that sound riveting? Let's check it out. That's right, this is the game that you would play on your parents' computer back in the day and you kind of knew how it worked. It's solitaire, ladies and gentlemen, the great grandfather to Minesweeper. And now there is a World Solitaire Championship, and it's being hosted by, checks the freaking article, Stephen A. Smith. This guy, you know this guy. He's a sports ball guy. You like sports ball? Well, you're gonna love this. World Solitaire Championship. That's right. We are getting weird in the gaming tournament scene. Also, I found out just today, Travi was telling me that there's a farming simulator and it's a yearly competitive tournament and apparently is actually fairly interesting. Also, even Excel spreadsheet nerds, they've got a championship belt down in Vegas for their competition. So why not solitaire? Well, let me tell you why. It's gonna be a bunch of iPad babies sitting around a table playing solitaire, and that is just sad, isn't it? Are we sad about this? I don't know. What I wouldn't be sad about is the chance to win $150,000, because that's apparently what the prize pool looks like, and you have ESPN Stephen A. Smith hosting it. So just the wildest grouping of individuals and events. The only thing that would make this maybe better is a guest appearance by Post Malone. The World Solitaire Championship is the first ever global competition for solitaire, transforming one of the world's most iconic casual games into a thrilling cultural event. Boy, they are really trying to sell it as a thrilling event. That's going to take a lot of marketing, and I'm not sure that Stephen A. Smith is going to help too much there. Let me know what you guys think about this. Are you planning on going to the World Championship Solitaire Tournament, or are you going to stick with Farming Simulator, as God intended? Let me know. There's something a little fishy about this event, though, and a lot of people are calling this out. Seems innocent, $150,000 prize, that sounds great, but there's a lot of drama around why are they doing this. Apparently, this is all being promoted by an app called Solitaire Cash. So every time this event gets promoted, it's like, by the way, this is sponsored by Solitaire Cash. So some people wondering, hey, is this just one big event to promote like a semi-poker app, but solitaire, which by all means, that appears to be what's going on here. So a little bit of contention there. Arc Raiders is giving cheats right in the settings. That's right. Your sweaty gamer friends might have already discovered that if you set your foliage quality to low, that entire bushes disappear. Is this a new meta for competitive settings, or is it a punishment for casual gamers? Let's talk about it. That's right. Bushes are disappearing, and no thanks to Manscaped on this one. Check this out. Look out, sweaty PvPers. Arc Raiders foliage looks a little different depending on your graphics settings. Where'd the bushes go? This would have been a great time to have a Manscaped code. A great time. But I don't. Arc Raiders absolutely blowing up. A ton of people playing it, streaming it. It's probably the biggest game out right now other than Battlefield 6, which I just love getting trashed on. That's a great game to enjoy that with. Arc Raiders, players are discovering ways to get creative with the game. And apparently, it just came out that if you set your foliage quality to low in Arc Raiders, it's removing entire bushes and grass patches from the game world, which is fairly interesting. This is like the oldest trick in the book for competitive PC games, but still frustrating. Developers need to lock some of those competitive elements like, oh, I don't know, cover. Now, this is one where PC Master Race wins because console players are particularly annoyed because they can't adjust these settings and are at a huge disadvantage in crossplay. So I'm not going to say it, but PC Master Race is just another reason why we don't have bushes in our games. We can turn them off. So yeah, until it's patched, the competitive meta is foliage quality equals low. It looks ugly, but you know what? Winning is winning. This is also like the ultimate pay to lose scenario. Just say you have like a super high-end PC. Maybe you bought it at metapcs.com, which would be super cool. And it's running on ultra settings. You are now at a tactical disadvantage. So something to keep in mind until it's patched. This is the meta, so give it a shot if you want to cheese on people. This is great. Are we liking Arc Raiders? Let me know if you guys have had some time to play the game. Let me know in the comments down below. We've got another rare mystery GPU, and it's made its way into the limelight. And even though it's likely a GTX 1650 Super prototype, it's coming with some very interesting specs that we haven't seen in that line before. Notably, support for PCIe PCIe 4.0, which Turing architecture cards we know today definitely did not have. So let's see what else is inside of this thing. Let's take a peek. Boy, it's a season of prototypes that are popping up all over the place. A lot of times on Facebook Marketplace, we just talked a few weeks ago about a 2080 Ti prototype that was found in the wild. Well, guess what? You've got something a little interesting here. Check this out. 1650 Super was discovered, and this is a prototype that revealed specs that were different from the final product. Let's dig into it. All right, as you can see here, this is the prototype that this user discovered, and this is a Turing TU116 model from 2018, as you can see by the die information. This is an engineering sample, meaning, again, not a retail card, even though it resembles the 2060 series. Now, if you guys remember, the first generation GeForce cards and RTX features were divided into TU200 and TU100 series. The latter series lacked Tensor and RT cores, which is why they were released as the 16 series. So you've got no markings on this, so exact chip is unknown, but this does seem similar, as I mentioned before, to the TU116. The prototype, 1152 CUDA cores, which is significantly lower than the 1280 cores that were found on the retail version, and PCIe 4.0. And the final retail model, if you'll recall, launched on the older PCIe 3.0 standard. So what's the deal with prototypes like this? Well, you're finding a lot of people like hardware enthusiasts, collectors. If you find a functional prototype, this is like finding a tech historical artifact. And this is also a great reminder you'll see on a lot of these cards that, listen, specs aren't set in stone until the day a product actually ships to shelves. There's a lot of things that change over the course of a product release, so many engineering samples. So when stuff like this pops up, you really get a view into the pipeline of how products are released and what goes into the final product that ends up on the shelf. Could you imagine if they had launched this card with PCIe 4.0 at the time? It would have been future-proofing budget builders for quite a long time. Let's dig into the comments and see what people are saying about this below. This is the best Super ever made in terms of power increase. It was like 25 to 30% faster than the normal one. The OG was trash, so this Super was really needed. Let me know what you guys think. Are you sentimental about prototypes like this? Would you take something like this, show it off on the wall? Let me know in the comments down below. And now our next story comes from Come In.
Hey there, boss. Sorry to interrupt your little news segment. I just wanted to make sure, is your butt okay?
Travi, we are live-ish on the air right now. You can't just say that.
I know. I just wanted to double check and just make sure that your butt was okay.
Travi, why the hell are you asking me that?
Well, I was setting up your new office with all your new furniture. It's super modern, super ergonomic, but dude, your chair feels like I'm sitting down in a barbed wire bar stool.
I don't have a barbed wire bar stool.
Are you sure? Because the moment I sat down in that chair, I felt the pain of 1,000 suns in both of my lumbars.
Okay, yeah, you got me. I skimped out on my desk chair budget, but that's a later me problem. I gotta get back to...
Well, I think I might just have a solution if you're willing to come with me real quick.
I really gotta get back to...
I promise, it'll just take like a minute, 2-minute ad read tops. Come on down, Zachary Shutt. You are the next contestant on Spin for SIHOO.
Yeah!
Now, Zachary, do you know what you're playing for here today?
Not a clue, just happy to be here.
Well, it's a brand new chair! Yes, that's right. The all-new SIHOO Doro S100 ergonomic office chair features a breathable mesh design with waterfall-shaped cushion, 135-degree reclining, 4D armrest, and dual lumbar support.
I didn't even know I had 2 lumbars. That's awesome!
Well, thanks to the dynamic lumbar support, you have 2 separate back pads that flex and adjust to your lower back in real time for complete support.
Ooh, I feel so supported.
And it doesn't stop there, Zachary. The Doro S100 also comes with an independent backrest, so whether you're a 6'3" giant or a 5' short king, you can enjoy perfect neck and shoulder support in 5 different levels, while the dual lumbar support stays in place to cradle your lower back.
So much customization.
But wait, there's more. The seat depth is adjustable with 5 centimeters of flexibility, and the 4D armrests move with you. Up, down, forward, back, even in and out.
Please tell me we can use this as fuel.
I hope so.
Am I crazy, or is this a relaxing chair?
That's right, thanks to the waterfall-shaped seat cushion and highly elastic mesh that keeps your thighs and hips comfortable all day long, giving you smooth blood flow no matter how long you sit. Plus, the wide headrest contours to your neck so you can actually relax in between meetings.
You mean I can finally nap in peace and comfort while my news videos render?
Of course course you can. And all on top of a robust BIFMA and SGS certified frame that's built to last for years. Gimme, 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 gimme. Up, 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 up. If you want that chair, you're going to have to spin for SIHOO. You have one shot to spin for SIHOO. Oh no, you don't want that one.
What's blue?
I hate to tell you this, Zachary, but congratulations, you just won the new SIHOO Doro S100! And if you're playing along at home, you can get your SIHOO Doro S100 using the link in the description on sale now. If you use code YT60FF, you can get 6% off of your order. Thank you to SIHOO for sponsoring this video. I'm your boy Travi, reminding you, your tongue probably sits a little weird in your mouth right now. Have a good night.
For all 6 of you with an MSI Claw, buckle up because getting to your games is about to become a whole lot easier. Microsoft is rolling out a massive update that finally brings a full-screen console-like Xbox experience to gaming handhelds like the MSI Claw. Oh, but Zach, my ROG X Ally already had that UI. This isn't new. Wrong. This is actually big news because it's the first time a non-ASUS brand is getting this kind of support, and it's pointing towards some bigger things in the future. Let's dive in. That's right, Microsoft is expanding that Xbox full screen experience to the MSI Claw handhelds. Previously, ASUS was the only one that had access to stuff like this, and now you're starting to see it distributed to some other hardware manufacturers as well. Microsoft has started testing the Xbox full screen experience on MSI Claw's handheld PCs through the latest Windows 11 Insider preview build for the dev and beta channels. Now, the goal for this full screen experience, just to give you some background, is to deliver a console-style distraction-free interface. So this is turning Windows handhelds into like pick up and play ready machines. FSC also does some other pretty interesting things. It minimizes background tasks and defers some of those non-essential processes, and then prioritizes game performance and battery life. So it's perfect for, you know, an on-the-go type of gaming setup. As some more background on FSC, it's a controller-first mode that boots straight into the Xbox PC app instead of your Windows desktop, so you can get going right away. The interface is designed for small handheld screens and aims to keep navigation simple, and then, as I mentioned, reduces all of those background processes as well. So why is this story important? Well, the fact that they're rolling out to third-party OEMs like MSI is actually a pretty good sign that this is like a system-wide effort and it's not just, you know, an Xbox Ally exclusive. One thing that would probably be pretty cool that I'd like to see is I kind of hope that they push this feature to all Windows devices. A dedicated gaming shell on desktops and laptops would kind of be awesome. And if you're a Steam user like me, I love my Steam Deck, you're probably already used to this because you have Steam's big picture mode that takes you straight there and skips all the desktop bullcrap. Let's take a look at the comments, see what you guys are saying. Possibly all Windows users will have it by Christmas. That's an interesting prediction. Let me know what you guys think about that. Nice little meme here. Ally and Ally X owners. Visible confusion. Let me know what you guys think about this. Would this cause you to consider an MSI Claw or even a ROG Ally? Let me know in the comments down below. NVIDIA is really sorry. Well, sort of. We did a story in our last news video about a 5090 Founders Edition with a broken proprietary cable, and oddly enough, we have an update. The problem with the cards were that they were being prepped for water blocks, which involves taking the cards apart. And during that process, a fragile internal power connector broke, which could be replaced, only, check this out, there are no spare connectors to be found. Now, this story went out as a massive warning to other repair shops, and it caught the attention of millions, including NVIDIA themselves. So let's take a look at their response. That's right, NVIDIA agrees to replace RTX 5090 Founders Edition with user-damaged PCIe connector. That's right, NVIDIA has decided to replace this 5090 Founders Edition with a, text notes, totally new card. Northridge Fix has an update on the Founders Edition RTX 5090 card that entered their service recently. As was reported, the card had a broken connector for the PCIe board. The card is split into 3 PCBs. It was damaged when the customer installed a custom water block. It was clearly his mistake, and by doing so, he damaged the card, and you guys all know this, you're going to void your warranty in the process. And according to a new video from Northridge Fix, NVIDIA agreed to replace the card. Now, the reason that this is important is, does this set a precedent for NVIDIA? Or is this just like a case-by-case incident, and likely due to the fact that this is a high-profile incident that they wanted to take care of? That's probably more realistic in the grand scheme of things. But regardless, good on NVIDIA for taking care of the customer and making sure that they got a card card that works. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody wins, right? Except for people that want to get the replacement part. The fact that they send an entirely new card instead of a replacement part shows that, one, there's not a ton of access to replacement parts, which was the main gripe to begin with. And two, it sends a message that NVIDIA is acknowledging the complexity of their flagship design, especially for modders. So let me know, do you think this was a one-time exception since a popular YouTuber covered the failed repair? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Hey, NVIDIA, maybe we could just make some spare parts so people could fix it on their own. This is just an idea. I know you're busy making AI cards, but it's just an idea. It has been an insane couple of weeks for repair shops trying to fix GPUs. Northwest Repair posted a video where they tried to fix a broken GPU, and I just talked about that, but this thing was beyond repair. When they got the card, they thought that they were just fixing a melted power connector, which shouldn't be a common repair, but it is. Upon getting the card, they noticed it was bent like a strong man has gotten a hold of it, along with a host of other issues. So let's check what's going on here. GPU surgery. It's not for the faint of heart. Well, we have a GPU surgery story for you guys today, ladies and gentlemen. GPU surgeon attempts to rescue fatally bent RTX 4090 that came in for a melted power connector fix. The autopsy reveals a shorted MOSFET that killed the GPU cord. This thing has some bend going on to it. It's a flexible boy. And typically you don't like that for a GPU. They should not be that flexible. What you're seeing here in this photo is a severely bent Aorus RTX 4090 that was originally sent in for a completely different fix, a melted connector. And it showed up at Northwest Repair for assessment. Now, obviously you've got some curves going on this thing. It had some aftermarket screws and it showed signs, as you can see here, of severe wear and some amateur repair attempts. Man, this is just like a horror story for hardware. What kind of abuse did this card go through? It looks like it was thrown off of a freaking building. Now, I've got to give a hand to Northwest Repair because Tony, the tech over there, was amazing. He went through several layers of failure just to prove the card was dead. I mean, check this out. Initial testing found shorts on the 12 volt, 1.8 volt, and the memory rails, but the GPU core initially seemed like it was salvageable. The technician replaced a MOSFET that was allowing 12 volt to reach the memory rail, which fixed the primary slot. But after removing the short, injecting some current revealed that the 12 volt had propagated through the VRAM and already fried the GPU core itself. So guess what? It's dead. No more GPU. GPU core's gone. You can't do anything else. It's done, dead. This confirms a fairly old rule of mine. If a GPU looks that physically damaged, no amount of soldering can save the core. Let me know if any of you have gone through a relatively complex amount of GPU surgery or hardware surgery to fix a failed component of your own in the comments down below. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you next time.